Hello, and welcome to the Table and Well podcast. I'm Tennison.
And I'm Ginelle. Thank you for joining us as we discuss topics and give practical tools that help you live, grow, and be in healthy, joy-filled relationship with God, yourself, and others.
For more information and resources, or if you're looking for coaching, connection, and community, please visit tableandwellco.com. We hope you enjoy this podcast. Well, thank you for joining us today on the Table and Well podcast. We're, again, as always, glad that you're with us. Feel free to also download and subscribe to our podcast on your favorite listening platform. If you're watching on YouTube, hello. This is episode number, I'm not sure.
6, 7, maybe.
8. I don't know, because we record them in weird orders. So whichever one this is, thank you for watching it. This is a continuation of our series, Stories from the Table. And we are been really excited and really blessed, really, by the stories that we've heard. And like I've said in other places, you're hearing this real time, just like we are. So we've got friends with us today. We have Callie and Cathy, and they are going to tell us their story from the table. So I'd love for you guys to introduce yourself, and then we'll jump right into our discussion. So Callie, if you would go first, that'd be great. So the question is, I'd probably tell you what I'm asking from you. That would be really nice and helpful. Just your name, where you're from, and then how you found the table.
My name's Callie Craig, and I'm from Dublin, Georgia, small town kind of between Macon and Savannah, and was in Reading before I came here. I actually knew Cathy. We were friends in Reading, which is funny to reconnect here. Yes, yes, so that's really fun. And I heard about the table through just some mutual friends, Melinda and Cathy, that come. So, very
awesome. Thank you.
I'm Cathy Reum, and I live here in Simpsonville now, by way of Reading. Right, we knew each other in Reading. That was super fun. How I found out about the table was through both of you, running into it studio and finding out about it. So this has been really amazing to be here.
Oh, yeah. I'm glad you're here with us. Yeah, for sure.
I was thinking pretty much everybody that we have at the table is new still to the area.
For the most
part. How long have you
yeah.
been in this area?
I moved into Greenville in February.
Okay, yeah.
Oh, wow. Yeah.
How long have you guys been doing the table?
A year and a half.
Okay.
Yeah. So not that long at all.
Yeah.
And most of our people are newer transplants, which is just funny. Some weeks we'll have people at the table that are like a week new to Greenville.
Yeah.
It's got just moving people here from all over. So it's fun. Well, to open, I'm going to read just a little quote from Tablet to Table by Leonard Sweet. We've opened most of our podcasts with this, but this piece is just so good. He says, "What we need more than anything else is not more storybooks, but more story people. Mm-hmm. People who together participate in the bigger story being told by Jesus. We need to tell a bigger story with our life than the story of ourselves. Our stories should point not just to ourselves, but to Christ. If storytelling is brain sinking, then telling God's story is God sinking. As we gather around the table, we learn to live well-storied lives and to connect our way to God's story, to God's story." So just curious if that resonates with either of you.
Just thoughts on that.
Yeah, any thoughts on that?
Whoever would like to go. Take some time for sure, because I know it's
I mean, definitely, I think that's one of the things at the table for me is like everyone has space to show up, as opposed to there being just one speaker or one person speaking, which, some environments, that's just how it kind of works, but there's space for everybody to show up. And, so we're just inviting other people into our story when we are sharing, and an invitation into belonging and to, I don't know, like so much too, it's kind of stirred up things in me, telling about his goodness. We talk about gratitude, and I love that because, the testimony of Jesus is the spirit of prophecy. And that's essentially what we're doing is we're sharing about the goodness of God. And so it shows me what's available, too, when I see other people talking about experiencing the Lord in dreams or just the hunger that's being stirred. It's like, oh, that's available to me too. Yeah. And so whether it's healing or whatever, but so, I think the connecting of that, we talk about the power of, speaking those testimonies because it does release that. So, yeah.
the greater story.
Mm-hmm.
For sure.
Yeah, I think the God story jumped out at me. Just the God story that each person brings to the table, and just to stop and focus in on each and every person that has something to say in a very different way. Isn't that God, shining through us in His just variety, and yet brings us together that way to really hear each other.
We've talked before about just the moment of sharing appreciation really tells us about God's character in different lights. Like, he does that. He does that for you. Like you were saying, I don't know that I've experienced that, but I've always wanted to. Gosh, he does do that. It's not just a fable, but you live that out. You've experienced him in real time. And then just being reminded of that, I think is so beautiful.
Yeah, it's also one of those things that we always talk about too, that we really believe, I've said this, I don't even know how many times, but like each of us carry a piece of who he is. We're image bearers of Christ and of God. And so for us to be able to come together and share these stories and share our appreciation is giving all of us another glimpse into who he is. And it is God's story. It's not our story, but it's literally his story that's being shared through us about him. And so we all get to experience that and see that in a really, really awesome way.
Yeah.
Yeah.
I think one of my favorite things at the table is when people share stories or share even a heavy check-in and they're wondering if God will show up or if he'll be present for them. And I know from my story that he will. And then I sit there just in such expectation for them to know, like, oh, I carry a story that you don't even know of, but yet I know that he'll show up for you just like he did for me, and like have this sense of hope in that. I'm curious if you guys have any examples of times at the table that you've heard stories that have even spoken into you of, gosh, I don't know that I've experienced God like that before, or I really needed to hear that and be reminded that's who he is. Are there any stories that come to mind?
I think one thing that stands out for me, I'm single, and being around men who are, I think I've believed the lie a little bit. Maybe I shouldn't admit this, but
we're in now.
Because women, I feel like women can be so relational, and and not that men can't be, but it's just great. It's great to kind of be in a setting where there are men and women, right? Because you get to see all different aspects of the Lord. But to see men loving their wives, I think that's one of the things that stood out so much for me is seeing the honor that's in marriage, but seeing men that are just so connected with their hearts and so connected with the hearts of their wives. And so that's been really powerful for me to see if like this is possible. And just the honor that's been shown in that way. So that stands out. Yeah.
Yeah. It is really beautiful because I don't think we get to experience that much in a traditional church model.
Right.
Yeah.
Getting to hear people's hearts, no or less hearing men's hearts that isn't in a men's study.
Yeah.
And even for women, whether or not we're connected to them as our spouse, I know there's been plenty of times where Tennison has shared something at the table and I see him in a completely different light than I've seen him in before. Because not only am I seeing him through my eyes, I'm seeing him through his eyes, and I'm seeing him through the eyes of everybody at the table. Wow. Which is just super powerful. And as we do that for each other, it just brings more depth to who we are and our relationship with each other. So I think that's a beautiful point. I've really appreciated that too, getting to know that men can be connected. And that it's okay for us to have that shared gender experience. That sounds really funny, but we so segregate out in a traditional church model because it's deemed to be unsafe, but it doesn't have to be. We can create beautiful, safe relationships that are real.
Well,
and it's okay.
Oh yeah, because even like we've talked about this a lot too, where we say that we're brothers and sisters, and we say that we can be connected. I think it's language that we use all the time in church. Like, well, this is your brother, this is your sister, but you would never catch a guy with a woman somewhere, even like in the foyer having a conversation.
Without somebody thinking,
what's going on with
that?
What's going on with that? Why is that? And so it's been really beautiful here because it's like we can truly have, and we have had, and we do have legit brother, sister relationships that are close, and God forbid they're intimate, and that and not obviously not in an inappropriate way,
Right.
But anyway, the things that we share at the table is they're intimate things that we share, because we're sharing our hearts. We're sharing a deep part of who we are on both sides. And
we
so
get to fully witness each other's stories regardless.
Yeah. And we can grieve with each other, and we can celebrate with each other. And it's not this, I can't allow myself to, be too close, because what are people going to think? Well, here we think that
this is family.
This is
family.
What we
do.
And this is how we, And so that's really beautiful. And honestly, it's been a paradigm shift through the process. It really has been for us, because we were like, there was someone that was coming to the table. They don't come anymore, but he sincerely wanted to have this really deep relationship with Ginelle, but literally like brother and sister.
Mm-hmm.
That was the thing. It's like, you're my sister. It's like, and I feel like you're my sister. And there was this
and I want woman input in my life, and I don't have a sister to speak to.
Yeah.
And for us being in ministry for so many years, we were like, I don't know
how
I feel about that.
Yeah.
But it can be good, and it can be safe. Obviously, there's
absolutely.
there's parameters
there's
around that, but
and all of that,
but we've so lost that, and I think we've lost being able to hear God's stories, even men hearing from women perspective. Right.
Yes.
And that being a really safe thing to do. And it's not just their mom that they're hearing from, if there is a mom, or, and just hearing, this is how I'm living my life and how I'm experiencing God. No matter your walk of life, your gender, your ethnicity.
Yeah.
We get to see him in all kinds of different lights.
Yeah.
It's what family looks like, right? Because family's not all singles or all marrieds or all, family is all generations and all,
For sure.
Yeah, I think for me, it's been the ability to, from the very first table that I was at, was for people to be able to share real pain, real deep stuff isn't going well kind of pain, and the beauty of what happens on around the table after that. But I guess going deeper for me was that that wasn't really part of my world when you come together with the church, and it's that thing that I've not wanted to stay in my life, but it has been the smile, everything's fine. And it's just been a huge encouragement and beautiful thing to and today, I'm feeling so good. Somebody shares deep about that, and it's refreshing. It's really refreshing, but also something that hits my heart of, okay, that's right, and that's what it's about, to be this type of family. This is what we do, and this is how we care for each other. And just the way the table's set up to be able to be safe doing that.
And one thing I love about that, Kathy, is the way you guys have set it up. It's not about hearing that tough spot somebody's in and then trying to fix or judge.
Yes.
It's about how can I connect your heart back to his?
Yes.
And that's all of our goals, right? Is to stay connected to him. I mean, to connected to each other too, but we're doing it through each other. So I think it's so beautiful that it's not a place of fixing or judging. It's just reconnection,
right. Yes, because we can't.
Right.
We can't fix almost any situation, but being present is such a powerful gift. I have a curious question for you, Kathy. When you got in the car that first day after coming, and you're like, okay, I'm really used to going to church and just being like, everything's great. And we always joke that it's not a table without tears. So there's probably tears at your table, whether it was someone else's or yours, I don't know. But what was that like when you got in the car for after that first day, and you were like, what was that?
Yeah. I think, boy, there were so many emotions around it, exhilaration for and thankfulness to the Lord, because it's what I've wanted but didn't know where that was. A continual search over years, and had little tastes of it, maybe little tiny tastes, but then it just seemed to not be there. And so the feeling of this is like God has just put this in my path, and just feeling so thankful that there is this type of space, and what he's going to do with it. Right. That was the thing too. Like, what does this look like? Where is it going, Lord? This is beautiful, and I just felt like life. There was so much life in it.
Yeah, we love it, because every single Sunday it's just refreshing. Like it can be hard, and we can go to tough places with people, but at the end there's peace and there's refreshing.
Yes.
You walk away with this big deep breath of like, maybe circumstances haven't even changed, but boy, something's different.
Yeah.
And if even nothing else, then I'm not alone.
Yeah.
That I can see that person's not alone either. So,
And that's it. And it's the gift of presence that it seems to be a theme in kind of our conversations, but it literally is. It's setting the table and practicing the gift of presence for each other. Again, like you said, Callie, it's not trying to fix. It's not trying to here's my idea or here's my whatever, or you should try this or do that. It's none of that. It literally is, let's just sit with you in that. If that's all you want, then that's what we'll do. And we'll sit and we'll do what you ask us to do and what you feel you need in this moment. And which is just being present and attuning to what's happening at our tables and with each other. And so it's, again, always amazed and hearing people's experience from the table, because I said again, same thing. I might as well just take what I say and just put it in every episode, pretty much, because it's like we get so accustomed to this is the norm of how, because this is just what we do. We're in circles, that this is how we approach our relationships and how we want to have deeper, closer, intimate relationships with each other and with people and with God, ourselves, others. That people coming in, it's not the norm. And so to hear that this is the part of it that really affected me a lot is it's beautiful.
Yeah. Because sometimes we can take for granted.
Yeah.
That we just set the table.
Right. Yeah.
Yeah. And it's
I feel like what you were saying, Tennison, too, is because we're and Callie, because we're given that the question of what do you need from us?
Yeah.
There's so much power in that.
So much power.
You just feel like, oh, I get to say what I need, not somebody putting on you, well, you must need this or you must need that, or we want to speak for you. There's a lot of power and depth to what God does in that question.
Yeah.
What do you need from us?
So much.
Yeah.
But to honor you guys as leaders, the humility with which you lead and just the way that you create space for everybody, it really sets the tone. And the way you're really present with people and you really genuinely, when you're in your presence, you feel like you really want to know how your week was. And there's such attunement, with everybody at the table, but especially with you guys as leaders. So I think you really set the tone for that in a beautiful way. So
From the moment we walk in the door, it happens then. Before we're around the table, it happens. And you've created that space. It's true.
Which is beautiful.
Yeah,
that's fun.
you.
In our last podcast, somebody mentioned that too, from the moment I walk in the door. And I'm cracking up because I'm thinking, well, normally when you walk in the door, I'm standing in the kitchen, rearranging food.
But that's the best place in the house. Anyway.
Yeah, it is.
It's
It's just beautiful because it's created. I feel like the community itself has become that.
Yeah.
Yes.
I love to stand back and watch on a Sunday morning and just watch everybody interact with each other and welcome each other and attune to each other and genuinely ask, how are you? I haven't seen you.
Yeah.
What's going on? And usually we have to interrupt to start the table.
It's the hardest thing.
Everybody's just kind of gotten engaged.
I love the conversation that's happening, and and then I have to say,
okay, guys,
time out. You gotta get going. But I love that.
It's become such a beautiful atmosphere of care.
Yes.
As a whole other level.
And to think after being at one table, when I walked in the next time, it was that way already.
Yeah.
Yeah.
That's incredible.
Yeah.
That's just incredible.
Yeah. Because usually you're a stranger for some time.
Yeah.
Yes.
Yeah. We've talked about that, how quickly the bond is built. That it seems odd. But a lot of it has to do with just us connecting on a right brain level and truly relationally heart to heart, and not on this left brain, I'm going to do the thing with you and get to know you and remember your name. That's my goal, but really it's, I've seen past your name, your face, and I've seen your heart. And now there's a sense of knowing you and you knowing me, because we both played the game, right? We both participated in this. It wasn't that I heard you share, but I also shared it and you showed up for me. We showed up for each other.
That's right.
And that's so powerful. And there's very few spaces that gets to happen in.
Yeah, very few. I know for me, when I was on staff at a church, we would always Janelle, we would talk to people. And we had that same type of welcoming, but for me, it was more like doing the thing, and I would do it from a left brain, very logical thing, to where I would like the right thing to do is to go and talk to people that you don't know, or go and have the conversation. And so I would go and we'd have a conversation. Like if it was 4 years ago and I saw you in church and I met you, we'd have a really deep conversation. But I'd be the entire time looking for the next person to go talk to, and would not connect with you at all. And so I'd walk away from the conversation with you and not remember anything. I'd be lucky literally if I remembered your name. But we had a great conversation in that moment, but I really wasn't there. I wasn't relational. I wasn't present. Again, that word presence. I wasn't connected to you. And I remember when we were in counseling at the time, and I was explaining this to my counselor. She's like, well, how about you just go and just like be relational? Like, don't try to talk to everybody. Just go and connect with some person and just have a legit heart-to-heart conversation. And I remember that I did that the next Sunday, because my excuse was, well, I need to talk to more people. That was kind of the
quota.
Thing. Yeah, it was my own personal quota.
It was.
I didn't really have a quota, but but the right thing to do. And I remember having conversations with people completely relationally, and not looking for the quote unquote next person to talk to. And I still talked to the same amount of people, but my heart was really deeply connected with them. And that doesn't happen at most other gatherings, where you have that connection that we get here when you come in. Like you said, you came one time. The next time you came, it's like, oh, I belong here. Somehow I belong here. Yeah. And like we think that we have to meet once a week, every week, and it takes like 6 months before we have this like deep connection. And it happens literally in the first hour and a half if you just come and present yourself to the table.
Yeah. And it bleeds into the rest of life. I'm finding in a short amount of time that it's becoming more natural that's happening in other scenarios and with other people. And it's amazing. Like, okay, this is fast, that it would be, but I think because it's such a powerful thing, it's such a satisfying, it's probably not the right word, but it's
satisfying counts.
It's so good that I want other people to experience, and I want to experience that more with other people outside our little time here. So
Can you give us an example?
Well, I'd say probably because the easiest example is I greet at studio, and I've noticed there's been a shift in how I greet people there.
Oh,
I
love that.
Yeah, it's really, and I see responses different. Very quickly people are feeling that kind of a warm embrace, so to speak, with just the conversation being a little bit different, and maybe the connection, the presence being different. And it's really fun to kind of realize, oh, that's just happening as an overflow, but huge results, I guess. I don't know.
What do you think? I'm just thinking through that. I love that. What do you think has been the biggest shift that's caused it to carry over for you?
I think because almost similar to what Tennison was saying, because I'm not just being so concerned about, oh, I got to just, quickly touch every person. And yes, I do want to connect with each person, but maybe maybe it comes from the inside, the heart of where I'm coming from, that then I'm able to really focus on that person. And it's a place of, I know that I'm coming from, I really want to know you. Even if I'm only meeting you for a short time, I really want to know you. And they feel it. I believe they feel it. And there's a response like different than it was before. So
I think there's a different value for humanity that is discovered here. That we begin to see people and understand that every person has a story. And in going to the Dominican Republic for the last 2 weeks, that was one of my biggest struggles, is that in the setting that we were in, it was a public hospital. And so there's just lots and lots of women that come through 60 births a day. And so you watch people forget that each one of those women carries a story they have a whole life. They have dreams and wishes and fears and all the pieces, just like you and I have. And we can so easily forget that in situations where we're greeting people or, you know, trying to do the right thing.
Yeah.
And it's like, oh, hi, you have a name and then and an occupation maybe. And I'm going to ask about those two things, but forget that, like, you have a whole story that has existed before this moment in time, and you have a whole life to live outside of this.
Yeah.
And we may just be passing each other, but there's more to you than a name and a face and an occupation. It really is like, where are our stories similar? What is he like to you?
Yeah.
And even just in simple ways of saying, there's more there
Yes.
than the surface thing that we can so easily do.
Yeah.
And that's where the beauty lies. That's where you just, I think that's where you discover God is past those spaces.
Yeah.
Yes.
It's really good.
Yeah.
Yeah.
I think it's such a belonging. I mean, I know even weeks where I've come and had a hard week, I always left here feeling just so cared for and just such a sense of belonging, which kind of leaves me in a place of hope and in a place of feeling like I have more to pour out, kind of, you know, just because of the hope and because of the connection and feeling seen and cared for. And
Yeah, so that creates some strength for you to do that yourself outside of here as well. Yeah. We all need that, right? Like, if we're thirsty, we can't offer anyone else something to drink,
right.
you know? And this is that place of a well of refreshing and refilling for sure.
You've been listening to the Table and Well podcast. New episodes stream every Tuesday. To begin your journey to relational health, go to tableandwellco.com/community101. Again, that's tableandwellco.com/community101.